Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's another Sunday, which means another stream. Happy Father's Day to all of you who are dads or are doing the job of dads. Um, Certainly, there's a lot of folks out there either doing the job that a dad should or could do, but either can't or isn't. Um, and there are some folks who are doing double duty. You still get the day. Um, but anyhow, here we are. And today we're going to be talking Marvel superheroes. So I'm going to adjust my camera here a bit. Marvel superheroes, as you've likely figured out from the channel, is one of my near and dear favorite um, RPGs. I feel that it's a really strong contender for one of the best rule systems for superheroes. Um, and we're going to take a look at character generation today. Not sure how many folks are going to show up. It is Father's Day, so a lot of folks are going to be probably out doing Father's Day stuff, breakfasts and late mornings in bed. Um, so, but we're going to do this. So, let me pull this up here. Marvel Superheroes role-playing game from 1984. Is the first edition of it came out, and it was a pretty strong start. They expanded it into a more advanced system later on. You'll have to excuse me, I cannot remember off the top of my head what the date for that release was, but it expanded the power frameworks, the ranks out into some of the more cosmic levels of ranking, which allowed you to better model some of those truly powerful characters. Um, and in a game like Marvel superheroes, in a universe like the Marvel universe, having stats for those characters actually makes sense because characters routinely, as routinely as you can call routine, but on a regular basis, do come in contact with those really powerful cosmic level characters. Uh, Real quick, Morning Geek, John is cool. If you're at work, that's fine. RW Bishop, all right, cool. So you're kitted out. You got your tights and your cape. No capes, no. So yeah, I mean, the advanced version really did bring it into a better representation of the Marvel universe, or the power levels I guess you could have in any comic book realm. And if you hear my dog, I apologize. The wife is outside doing yard work, so I don't have to because she knows my allergies would kill me. But he's going to bark because she's out there and he's not. I think it's real quick to point out that the Marvel Universe or the Marvel Superheroes role playing game should not be considered just for the Marvel Universe. It is right for any comic book universe. Batman fits into the Marvel Superheroes role playing game just as much as Wolverine. Other comic universes, other comic adjacent universes fit well into this. You could do something like G.I. Joe or Thundercats or He-Man or Transformers. And sure enough, the Transformers and G.I. Joe have both appeared in the Marvel Universe, either tangentially or directly. Conan himself has managed to team up with Marvel characters before. So there's definitely room for considering crossovers. The comic book universes have crossed over in the past. You could easily, it's a very flexible system because of its adjective based what method of assigning ranks to people. I think because Marvel covers everything from a normal human to an infirmed human, all the way up to galactically powerful characters, any genre can be represented in Marvel. So it makes it a pretty good system for action-based heroic shenanigans. But I've already done a couple videos on Marvel, so I'm not going to deep dive into the whys, the hows, and the whos. couple of caveats before we get started. I'm going to be showing you the by the book character generation for Marvel Superheroes in the Advanced Edition. I will have to admit that I'm kind of rusty on this one because for the vast majority of my time playing Marvel, I have not used this method much at all. Once you get used to the system and once you get the whys and the hows under your belt on the system, it's just too easy to use the modeling system to just make the hero you want and not really worry about randomly rolling characters. That said, also randomly rolling characters produces some really wacky results, and you're probably going to see that today. Just understand that this is the by the book basic character generation rules. In addition to the modeling method that is suggested as an alternate method in the rulebook, there is also a system for building a character out of points, and it's a pretty straightforward build system. It's not a super nitpicky, fiddly system like you might see with like champions or something like that, where you're literally buying every D6 and stuff. You're just paying set amounts for ranks. We won't be going into that either. Again, this is going to be by the book. So let me go ahead and pull this up on the screen here. And dive here. All right, so I'm going to jump into and minimize myself here so we can maximize the screen. In fact, I'm going to take myself off the screen here. Got on the left here a form fillable character sheet. This is the least stunning sheet I could find. It's a little blah for me, but it'll suit the purposes. I could not find for the life of me any better form fillable sheets. And on the right, I've got the rulebook, PDF of the rulebook here. Marvel Universe Forever is a great web resource. I think it's Marvel Universe Forever. I'll put it in the notes after the stream. But there's a great site that has collected everything that was ever published for Marvel, plus fan books and everything, into one site. There's actually also a really good Facebook group that is continually releasing new source books for up-to-date characters and pieces of the Marvel Universe that was never able to be covered by TSR when they were still doing the run. So this is a very alive and well game. But we got on the right here, we've got the character sheet, or on the right we've got the rules, and on the left the character sheet. So going by the book here, and I'm going to dip out here so I won't be. I'm going to actually try to increase. I'm going to try and zoom. Yeah, that was not what I wanted. I'm going to try and zoom in a bit so you guys can see a little bit better what's going on here. I don't know how well this is presenting itself on YouTube. Let me pull this up real quick and just double check before I go further farting with much. Sorry if I seem like I'm losing my train of thought, but I don't know how bad you guys can hear it, but the dog in the background is kicking my ass and really disturbing the ADHD. All right, anyways, so for character generation, going down the line here, we've got your main steps. You're going to generate you're going to generate an origin. You're going to generate your primary abilities, generate your secondary abilities, generate your special abilities, and then fill in the blanks. So your origin would be a randomly rolled origin that determines how you got your powers or where your powers come from. And I do apologize. This session will go ahead and grab a percentile dice. That's good. Big loud. RW Bishop, you got any percentile dice handy? Go ahead and roll them for me. If not, I'll still dig them out, but I should have had them handy, but I do not. So let me go ahead and pull up a dice roller. So, anyways, what we're going to do is randomly generate our origin. Just a second, I'll be right back. Oh, wait, there he goes. 88. All right, so according to this little chart here, 88 means that our character is a high-tech character. Now, this is a catch-all for pretty much any sort of tech character, whether it's, a Iron Man or somebody with just a bunch of gadgets. Batman would be a high-tech character. He's clearly not an altered human. He's not a mutant. He's not a robot, and he's not an alien. Now, a couple of considerations. You'll notice that there's no magic origin on here, and that is because magic is a power type, not an origin, and origins are very broad. So an altered human is any form of altered human. The Hulk is an altered human. Reed Richards, Sue Storm, those guys are altered humans. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is an altered human. But also somebody who got their powers from magical sources might also be an altered human. Like a werewolf might be considered an altered human, but their powers are going to be magic in origin. A high-tech character who ends up developing a high-tech character could still be a magical character. It's just that his powers come from magic items, for example, as opposed to tech items. A magical robot would be maybe like a golem. And also, how they handle some of these supernatural races in Marvel is like an alien. Aliens are Asgardians are considered aliens. Atlanteans are aliens. The Kree, the Shi'ar, the denizens of the Dark Dimension, all of those guys, those are all aliens. Doctor Strange, he is definitely, I would say he's a high-tech hero because his skills come from it's about magic. All right, Geek. We'll see you in a bit. But anyways, there is a lot to be said in this game for the powers. This is just the basic rulebook generation. There's an entire book called the Ultimate Powers book, which expands on this. And there's even, for the first edition, a massive whole module expansion for the magic system of the universe. It really deep dives into things like the cosmology of the Marvel Universe and all that. But for now, our character is high-tech. I've gone ahead and noted that down here. This sheet is super tiny, so I'm going to blow it up a bit so you have any chance of seeing it. But high-tech. And a lot of this is going to counter to the filling the blanks. Hero's name, hero's ID, player's name, group affiliation, base of operations. This is all just the filling in the blanks. So the next step we're going to do, we've got origin. So let's look at our high-tech origin description. It says, also called high-tech wonders, these heroes derive their abilities solely through equipment, whether that equipment is mystical or technological in nature, such as Iron Man or Captain Britain. High technology heroes start with lower primary ability scores, and in addition may not use their powers without their equipment. However, they receive many other benefits. So that goes right back to what I was talking about, where a magical hero could still be a high-tech hero. Okay, so high technology heroes roll on column 3 of the random ranks table. We'll get to that in a moment. The initial reason is raised by 2 ranks. If good is rolled, then the initial reason is remarkable, as an example. Everything in the Marvel Universe, Marvel superheroes role-playing games expressed in ranks, and it's either going to be plus or minus rank or column shift, depending on what you're referencing. Initial resources are set at good or optionally rolled. High technology heroes must have at least 1 contact, and they must declare declare what that contact is before starting to play. The contact represents the organization that the player character works for, or if resources are high enough, owns. So, are you Nick Fury, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and therefore you get all your cool stuff from a government organization, or are you Tony Stark or Reed Richards and independently wealthy and have all of your gizmos? Now, the other thing to remember too is you're not limited to just one thing. Reed Richards is a good example. He is an altered human who frequently uses technology. So you could build him as a high-tech wonder, even if you rolled him that way. Let's say you just got an incredibly high intelligence score. And there are rules even for inventing technologies in play, but we won't get into that. So contact, at least one talent chosen by the player must be scientific or professional in nature. I would say if you're going with a mystical character, you could probably choose like an occult instead of those. Just something that gives a connection to that high-tech work. If when generating powers, the high-tech wonder chooses body armor as a power, the high technology hero may choose to have all of his powers combined into a battle suit, a la Iron Man. Check in the body armor entry for these effects. Effects are rolled on column 6 to see how the armor affects the fighting agility, strength, and endurance of the player character. So, and what they're referring to when they say column 6 is, if you look over here, you've got these columns. Did it say column 6? Column 6. Okay, well, I don't see a column 6. I think they're meaning the additional ability modifier, but yeah, that may be a typo. But yeah, I think they mean column 6 because the ability modifier table. Anyhow, and let's see, but that was the last bit for the high-tech hero. All right, so we've got our origin down. We've read about our origin. Now we're going to generate our primary abilities. Now, high-tech heroes. Let's see. It says they do their primary abilities on column 1 because they are just normal people. All right, RW Bishop, go ahead and give me another percentile roll here. You're going to be the dice monkey today. And what we're going to do here is we're going to write its human form, and then if we decide to be like an armor suit or something, we'll put in any of the modifiers over here. So we'll record all these primary attributes, the primary abilities over here. 46. All right, so our fighting, according to column 1 with 46, our fighting is excellent. We are actually a really good hand-to-hand fighter. That is great. Now, rules as written, ability ranks have a base score and then expand upon a wide range till they rank up. You can also just default them to their default scores. For example, excellent is normally 20 is the average. According to the chart here, though, excellent is 16. So we'll go by the book and give them 16 as the ranked score. The descriptor is excellent. Excellent is actually, well, if you figure there's typical, which is everyday person, and above typical is good, and above good is excellent, and then you have remarkable is like the max human capability. So, all right, so next roll. Bishop, why don't you just go ahead and roll out a few of these, and we'll go ahead and go down the row. So we got our fighting is excellent. What's our agility going to be? I really hope that dog is not coming across too loudly for folks. 75. Ooh. So our agility is going to be remarkable. That is not excellent. That's remarkable. That's going to give us a base score of 26, not 66, not 266, 26. It isn't too bad. That's only 4 off from the max of remarkable. So it's only 4 from the cresting point of remarkable. All right. And so for our strength, What do you got for me? Alrighty. $60 and a 0. So 0 would be 100%. So that means that our strength with a roll of 60 is going to be excellent. So excellent strength is about 1,000 pounds, I think it is, that you can lift. I just know that remarkable is about a ton. So excellent's going to give us a 16, and then that 100 means that we have an amazing endurance, which, if you consider, oh wait, hold on, did it say? Hold on, have I been rolling on the wrong chart? I have. I've been rolling on Altered Human. We're supposed to be using column 3. No wonder this guy's too good. So column 3, high-tech wonders. Let's go back and I'm going to go ahead and reiterate this. So 88 for our fighting on column 3 is still going to be excellent. All right. Let's see. 46 is going to be good. So we're going to go, because this guy was just seeming way too good for just a high-tech guy. So strength is going to be 75 on high technology. 75 is going to be good also. Now, mind you, this is without any of his powers. So, and then we have a 60, which is going to put us at also good. So, I mean, honestly, he's above human norm on everything so far. So 46, 75, 88, 46, 75, 60, which is good, 60, which is good, and then 100. So he's going to have a remarkable endurance. He's actually pretty good on that endurance. That is the peak of human capability. All right, so we need 3 more for our mental attributes. And then after we're done with these primaries, we'll go back and revisit that bullet point list for the high-tech wonder to make sure that we don't get any column shifts for our abilities. Your origin does have an effect on your primary abilities and can really, they can go up, they can go down, you can get bonus powers. I know like some of the origins allow you to shift a power up and down. I mentioned earlier the Ultimate Powers book, and that Ultimate Powers book greatly expands out the origins and an immense number of powers, but it's an entire book supplement for powers. Whereas this is, the stuff you get in the rulebook. Although I will say, the Marvel Superheroes Advanced Rulebook is all you would ever really need to play under most circumstances. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using the Ultimate Powers book, but it does definitely put some power creep into the game. All right, so we got a 15, a 55, and a 78. So a 15 is going to be typical for our reason, but if I recall correctly, there was a caveat for reason for high-tech wonders. Initial reason is raised by 2 ranks. So we were typical, so then we would go to good and then excellent. So that way, that's what I was saying with those modifiers. So excellent is going to take us to a 16. 55 on intuition is going to give us a good. Now, if you're wondering what any of these attributes do, if it's not self-evident, your fighting is, of course, your ability to fight. Your agility is your speed and your reaction. Your strength is your ability to lift things. Your endurance is your ability to resist things. Those are pretty straightforward. Mental abilities are a little bit more, I mean, they're still pretty self-explanatory, but what they do, your reason, for example, is what you would roll for inventing things or figuring things out. Intuition, it factors actually into your initiative. So it's not a game where your physical attributes are the only thing that affect your initiative. And your psyche, for example, is something that you would use to resist mental attacks. So according to that rule of 78, we also have a good psyche. So our default hero in this case, just in his normal unpowered self, is a pretty stand-up character. This guy is not Joe average. He's got some training or natural ability in almost everything. His endurance shows that either he has some sort of minorly enhanced endurance, maybe he's got some alien blood or some supernatural blood, or maybe he's just taken, chemical steroid compound number 36, and he's just, it's not a power so much, it's just, he's got some sort of enhancement, or he's just really well trained. I mean, fighting excellent, agility good, strength good, endurance remarkable. He's likely a professional athlete level physicality, well-trained military, well-drilled military, something to that effect. And his reason, intuition, and psyche, he's got a pretty stable mind because of that good. He's pretty insightful because of that good intuition. And his reason, he's a really sharp guy. He's not the smartest guy in the universe because that's Reed Richards, but he's definitely up there. All right, so if we go back here now, we'll see that the third step here is to generate our secondary abilities. So you'll notice that the high-tech hero, let's go back and check our things here. So we already got our reason score modified. Initial resources are going to be set at good or optionally rolled. High-tech heroes must have at least one contact. One talent must be scientific. And if we get body armor, we have the option of making it a battle suit. I would say, honestly, there's a good argument that the body armor is a really solid example of a power suit. But if we think about the superheroes that we all know here, it could be that it's not a battle suit. Maybe it's a pair of gauntlets. Maybe it's a high-tech belt. Depending on the character's powers, it could be, like, let's say we end up with a character who's got a whole bunch of mental powers. Maybe it's all tied into a helmet. But at the same time, a high-tech hero could also have all of that stuff built into him, or at least somewhat attached to him. Let's see. All right, so secondary abilities. Let's jump ahead to secondary abilities. Secondary abilities are your karma, and your initial karma is generated by adding up your intuition, reason, and psyche abilities. So that's an easy one to come up with. Oddly enough, it did not automatically calculate it here for us. Well, it just says right here as a 32. So 32 is what we have right now. And 66 is our health. And if you recall, it said about resources here, it said that our resources, let's see, are at least good or optionally rolled. So we can make a decision here. Resources, we could go with good, which means okay, or we could try and roll. And it says here that we would roll our resources. Let's see. It doesn't specify what chart, so I think we would default to our regular chart. Optionally rolled. All right, so initial resources are typical, poor for aliens, modified by roll on the ability modifications table. Okay. So we can either start it at good, or we can go ahead and roll. Do we want to roll, or do we want to just accept the good? What do you want to do, Bishop? It's just you and me. An agent could be where we're going with this. We'll have to I think what we roll for powers. You want to accept the good, just go with good resources. Okay, that's solid. All right, so where on this character sheet are my resources? Here we are. Resources. Good. And good has a default value of 10. Yes. All right. So we've got our resources. We've got our karma. Hey, Squirrel. Welcome. We are in the process of creating our high-tech hero for the Marvel Universe game using the randomly generated tables out of the advanced player's guide. FASERIP indeed. So far, we have a solid physical and mental character. He's a particularly excellent fighter with a remarkable level of endurance. He's all around good on everything else. He's got an excellent reason. So we have a sharp, smart guy who's a pretty decent hand-to-hand combatant, and he can take a punch. We've gone with the default of good resources. And I gotta say, Squirrel, I do not like the random, because you can get some weird stuff, especially if you're doing random generation out of the Ultimate Powers book. And I'll have to do a character generation another time using the Ultimate Powers. But that is just so all over the place. You'll just get some crazy stuff like, hey, you're a plant, but you've also got like 4 kinds of energy manipulation plus swimming. It's weird stuff, and you can still have that here. Let's see. So then we also have to generate our powers and contacts and talents. So we also have popularity. Let's see. Generating resource. Generating popularity. Initial popularity is 10 for most heroes, 0 for mutants, those filthy mutants and robots. Judges who may leave it at that, or may raise or lower the popularity based on the following factors. Raise your popularity by 10 if your identity is publicly known. Do we have a secret identity, or are we a well-known agent? Are we Nick Fury, or are we some shadow agent who operates in the dark? What say ye, Bishop? What say ye, Squirrel Hermit? Central Park has Squirrel Girl, Squirrel Hermit. So if you want to stop being a hermit, you could always find Squirrel Girl. All right, so we're not going to get. So if we go with secret, our popularity is going to get lowered by 5. So do we want to still go secret? Because then we'll be down to 5 popularity, and popularity does have a game effect. Popularity will affect like social rules and stuff that you can make on the game. All right, so secrets. So we're -5 on our popularity, so we're down to 5. All right, popularity lowers by 5 if you hang out with known mutants, but is not a mutant. Do we have mutant buddies? Do we go drinking on the weekends with mutants? Do we go bowling with the X-Men? I would say also other known character. This would also fall into this category as other known characters who have infamy. Have we been seen grabbing a cappuccino with Spider-Man? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there's an awkward photo of Green Goblin and I eating an ice cream sundae in Central Park. No, so we do not hang out. So no -5 for that. Lower your popularity by 5 if the hero is generally unpopular. Aliens have this trouble, but a player may choose to have a hero be ugly or just weird. This would also be like, if you were going to build your character from the get-go to have a J. Jonah Jameson complex and you're just generally unpopular because of the smear campaign against you, this would be a way to go. As we are a secret agent, I would say that we probably don't have an issue with a public image unless we're the kind of secret agent who gets caught on camera all the time and big splash panel, Agent X guilty of bombing an orphanage, even though we actually saved the orphans that just happened to explode because the Fatal Five were the ones that put the bomb there. So we're going to be secret. We don't have mutant friends. We are not generally, or we're going to be generally unliked or unpopular. What do you guys think? Probably not if we're secret, right? Going with that would give us a popularity of 5. It's funny is they have it here rated here as a number, feeble, blah blah blah, but it really you don't have a power rank in your popularity. You would just say, I have a popularity of 5. Let's see. And yes, we are. This also allows you to actually have 2 sets. This character sheet is a little weird, and I think most of the character sheets wouldn't have this. This has like a separate separate resources for your hero and your secret identity, and a separate popularity for your hero and your secret identity. I can understand a popularity for your hero and your secret identity being different, but yeah, really weird. Anyways, this is where the FASERIP comes in, by the way, because your health is your fighting agility, strength, endurance. That's your face, and your karma is your reason, intuition, and psyche. That's the calculation, and that's your RIP. All right, so RIP are secondary abilities, and let's go on to generating contacts, talents, and powers. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to roll percentile dice 3 more times. So Bishop, if you want to continue being the dice monkey, or Squirrel if you want to jump in here, do remember that go back to our origin here. There's no predetermination of any sort of additional powers or +1 or minus powers or anything like that. So whatever we roll here will determine. You'll notice that the ranks here are a number and then a slash and then another number. That's your starting powers and then your maximum powers that you can have. Now, maximum powers is kind of meh, because honestly, it's a comic book universe, and once the ball gets rolling, like any kind of comic book universe, really, the gloves are off. I mean, anything can happen in the course of your campaign. You could get turned into a god, and is it really going to be? All right, so 41. So 41 is going to give us 3 starting powers. So I'm just going to go ahead and note 3 here. Just going to go ahead and do a 3. What is it? 3, 4. We'll do 3, 4 as our note. Just a note. And then while we're here, let's go ahead and roll. See, you got a roll of 83 for talents. That's going to be a 3, 4. That makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because as a agent, we're probably going to have a pretty good skill base. And contacts was a 56. So we have 1 starting contact with a maximum of 4, though. And remember, as a high-tech character, we have to have at least 1 contact declared at the beginning of the game, which is either the company we work for or if our resources are high enough, the company we own. I don't believe our resources are high enough to be a high-tech hero who owns his company. Good resources just is not that. I mean, unless you're Radio Shack Man, in which case, maybe. I am Captain Tandy. But yeah, we're probably on a payroll with good. So we got those deciding factors out of the way. Let's go ahead and start rolling the really important stuff. All right. Here's where the fun comes in. We're going to generate 3 powers, and then we're going to go back and we're going to generate their ranks. So for each power, just one contact is all by the high-tech hero. The only reason I was bringing up the context is by the high-tech hero framework, by the book, we have to declare that contact up front. In this case, that would be the organization we work for. Now, we could actually just say our character is some agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which in Marvel could be a great character to play. You are an independent agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of like Valentina, I think is her name, or Val, whatever she is. She's sort of a higher level. There's a lot of independents, like that a lot of higher level S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who operate on their own. So for powers, we're going to need 2 roles. We're going to need a category role and then a role in that category. So we're going to need a percentile and then a D10 for our first power. And it could be that we are a super powered agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., like kind of like Falcon in the MCU movies, how he's a government agent. He's clearly working for S.H.I.E.L.D. He's got some powers beyond beyond a S.H.I.E.L.D. So 72 and 4. So 72 is going to be mental powers. That's really actually standing up there considering our mental abilities. So mental power and then 4. So what is our mental power? 4. We have force field generation. Ooh. Do we have a force field belt that we wear maybe? Force field generation. We're not going to have to worry about what we're going to call them at this point. What I usually like to do is generate the powers, get the power rank, and then that can kind of inform what it is. If it's a low level power on a force field, maybe it is just a force field belt. However, if it was like some really high level of power on force field generation, you could get into say like maybe it's some sort of entropy field or time dilation field or whatever that like slows bullets down or whatever. It's you can get crazy with it. All right, give me another 2 rolls. I need a percentile and a D10 for our second power. That is not what I wanted to do. Thank you very much. Oh, welcome back, Geek, by the way. Sorry, I was on a roll there. Trying to, literally, we were rolling up a character. All right, so power category is 17. That's going to be matter control. And what's our D10 roll within matter control? Spider-Man and his amazing friends. All right, so 17, we had, what was it? 17 was matter control with a 4 air control. So we have force field and air control. This is actually coming together. Maybe we have some sort of cyclotronic technology where we can like manipulate winds, and then we can also create a force field with that wind. Now the force field is generated as a mental thing, but one thing you'll find in Marvel is as you randomly generate these characters, you might start to kind of twist them and morph what they are as far as like their origin goes. I mean, yes, force field generation is a mental power, and as a mental power, by definition, it would be tied to your psyche. But if we look at like, but force fields, we know from every science fiction out there, could also be a piece of tech. It could be electromagnetic, or in this case, maybe it's air powered. All right. And so now we need our third roll to figure out what that third power is going to be. And so a percentile and a D10. I think this is one of the most cohesive random characters I've ever seen come out of this system. Probably because it's using the player's book and not the Ultimate Powers book. The Ultimate Powers book is great because of the amount of powers it gives, but it can be kind of wackadoo. And I'll definitely do another episode. Maybe next week we'll do an episode using the Ultimate Powers book. And then 1 week I'd like to show the point buy system. All right, so 20 and 7. So 20 gives us another matter control power, and 7 gives us water control. Okay. Weird. Okay, so water control, air control, and force field generation. An interesting combination, but I'm getting sort of a weather control ability. Like maybe we have a weather dominator, a portable weather dominator. We Shield has back engineered it from Cobra, and now we have a portable weather dominator. So we can do force fields with wind, and we need air control, so we have storms, and then water control. We can do like sprays of rain and humidity, and who knows? I mean, it's still cohesive. I mean, it's kind of cool that way. All right, so before we go on to talents, let's go ahead and then roll. Let's go ahead and make sure we roll our ranks on these. Power category tables, marked by the star. Just making sure. All right, so we're going to go ahead and roll. It says such ranks for all heroes are rolled on column 4 of the random ranks table. Some powers will have a maximum initial power level. This listing the power listings. So let's see how good these powers are. So going back here to column 4. Column 4 is sort of the default column for a lot of things. So you'll notice it's the robot column, but it's also used. So for our force field generation, what is our power rank? Go ahead and give me a percentile roll, somebody. And if I get 2, we'll just apply one of them to the next power. So force field generation. How tough is our force field? $61. All right, so we have remarkable. So as far as a force field goes, in short terms, our force field, when it is up, when we're generating a force field, can take 30 points of damage. In other words, it's resistant to remarkable energies and below. Remarkable energies would have a chance of getting through on higher higher levels of success, and lower levels of power could penetrate if they got like really extreme levels of success. But that gives us a general idea. So 30 points damage is pretty good. I mean, 30 points is remarkable. Is Captain America punching it? Captain America's strength is remarkable. All right, so for our air control, give me another roll here. And it looks like we have 5 people watching, so I know we have Squirrel, I know we have RW Bishop, and I know we have Old Geek. Who all else is here? Say hi. Say good morning. If you're a dad, happy Father's Day. GM Cody, good morning. One of your favorites. Oh, good thing I'm such a small picture, so the blush won't show up so well. No, I'm sure you meant you meant the game, not me. But all right, so 22. 22 on our air control is going to give us a power rank of good. So not the most powerful air control, but definitely something that you could use to your advantage. How you would use this, for example, if you want to do air control, you could say, I want to try and use a gust of wind to try and push the criminal to the ground. You would roll your rank, and likely you would be using your good air control versus his strength to try and hold him down. So you're applying about 400 pounds of force here. Lifting force is about 400 pounds for good. So essentially you can air tackle people or push them around on the battlefield, keep them held in place if they were coming at you, as long as they weren't coming at you with too great a force. For some projectiles, you might even be able to push them back and not have to necessarily use the force field generation. So for water control, let's get a roll. What's our water control? You could. You could also try to put out small fires. One of the wonderful things about FASERIP Marvel Superheroes is they have an extensive listing in the judges book for the power ranks of just about everything: material strengths, fire, fire strengths, energy strengths, impact strengths, all these different things, real world elements reflected in power ranks. So, for example, if you were trying to stop fire, you could, roll on this, and if the fire was big enough, it might not necessarily respond to your power, or it might be a bigger struggle for you. But yeah, air control is a very versatile power. I mean, honestly, you could just flat knock people out if you got good enough and wanted to try some power stunts. I'm gonna suck the air from his lungs. Don't fail on that because you'll probably kill him, give him a collapsed lung or something like that. But you could try it. But yeah, let's get a roll for that water control. Yeah, Cody, this is one of my favorites too. I used to play this so much in high school, and then well into my bachelor years. My buddy and I just kept notebooks full of characters and NPCs. We used to use model characters all the time. Very rarely rolled them. But yeah, it's such a fun system. 97. All right, so 97 means that our water control is up there. That's amazing water control. That's really good. Not amazing is 50. So yeah, so like with amazing water control, normally that means that we could probably hit with amazing force using our water if we wanted to. We could push things back with amazing strength with our water. We could lift things up. I mean, we have air control good, but maybe we prefer to do a little bit of a surf thing. Now, with water control, we don't necessarily have the ability to generate water. Thanks, squirrel. So more than likely, if we were going to be, say, doing the variation of the Iceman, ice slide, but with water, moving through the city, we'd probably be busting fire hydrants the whole way down the street and just kind of riding the water. Either that, or we would bust a hydrant somewhere, pull out enough water to carry us on a wave from there, or if we were on the waterfront, we just kind of create a deluge and just ride that wave as long as we could. So we have that. We have air control. We have water control. I mean, as a player, one of the things you could do with this is you could try to do a power stunt where you're going to try and collect the moisture from the air to generate a volume of water that would be functional, which could be useful if you're not near an actual water source, which is going to be hard. It's hard to be away from a water source in the city. But let's say you didn't want to bust somebody's plumbing or cause damage to the city. You could be like, hey, can I do this power stunt? And then there are rules for rolling on power stunts and the like that would allow you to try and pull the moisture from the air to create water that you could use. But with that high level of water control and air control, that probably we can inform that into our force field generation and say that we likely have some sort of either air force shield or a combination of air and water that we've turned into a force field, sort of a mist barrier maybe, because with that amazing 50 water control and that good air control, kind of the average in there would be like that 30 force field generation. So it really starts to come together and put itself together. Air punch with water from the sky. Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, for that matter, you got a cloud up there and you really want to try and flex those powers. You're like, I'm going to increase the density of the water molecules in that cloud to force it to rain. I mean, that's the neat thing about this game is your power frameworks are pretty wide open. They tell you what you can do, and how you decide to use that in play is really just up to your creativity and your die rolls and your judge, your GM. So that is our powers and their ranks. Oh, God, I really apologize. If that dog is coming through too loud, let me know. I will get up for a second and go close the door. But for me, it's like super distracting. All right, let's look at our talents. Let's see. Actually, let's go back and double check the framework for High Tech Hero. Make sure we don't get any modifications to our abilities. We didn't get body armor, so it doesn't give us that power suit option. Remember that one of our talents has to be scientific or professional in nature. I won't listen. No, it would just, he's too high stress as it is. That would not do well for him. Closing a door would help. I've got my basement doors open because I like to let my cat be able to come down here and find me when she wants to. Let's see. So at this point, let's take a look at our talents. So talents are this game's version of skills. They are not as clearly defined as a skill system because it's a comic book and things are not usually all that cut and dry. So like most things here, we're going to start with a category roll. So give me a percentile die roll and then a D10 roll, and that'll determine. Actually, let's get the professional skill out of the way. We need to have a professional skill or a science skill. Which do we want? A professional skill or a science skill? Are we the scientist who created our own personal, meteorological device? Our portable weather dominator, like we were saying before? Or are we more of a professional who has, somehow like financed this or something else? But this is where it can get a little wonky because clearly our powers are like weather powered, but if we were to roll randomly on this and get geology. Yes, because that has everything to do with water and air. But go ahead and roll a d10. Let's see what we come up with. By the way, GM Cody, I checked out your channel and I subbed to it. Excellent stuff. I mean, you guys haven't checked out his channel, he's got some great old school stuff going on there. So definitely a shout out to GM Cody. All right, so we got a 46 or a 6. So let's go with our science. I have to laugh. I was just joking around about it. If we apply that 6 to the scientific skills, it gives us geology. If we do it the professional, that gives us engineering. Why don't we go with that? Because we have to have either a professional or a science skill. And I'm going to say, out of those two, engineering makes more sense for the origin of our powers. Thank you, Cody. A lot of those old standalone videos are from the first iteration of my channel, before I literally closed it for a while, and then I'm back more in a streaming format these days. When I have more time, I'll try and do some more standalones, but yeah, trying to get my stride. But streaming is actually added some extra juice to it and got me going. But, let's see. Weather device looks like an umbrella. It's your character, so I mean, if that's how you wanted to go, cool. So we have two more talents to roll. If you want to go ahead and give me a category roll as a personnel, and then a D10, we'll figure out what the rest of our skills are, our talents. Yeah, it's funny how we used to find games back in the day, Cody, because I discovered D&D completely by accident, by visiting a kid in the old neighborhood I lived in who just happened to have, I think it was the Menser box set. I can't remember. And we played that wrong. It might have been the Mold Bay. I can't remember. It was 79, so probably Mold Bay. But then Marvel Superheroes, I discovered again by visiting with a friend. I had moved out of the neighborhood again because my parents were always moving me, and then I happened to be visiting a friend, staying the night over at a friend's house who would come out every summer. I had met him while I lived in the neighborhood, and he would show up every summer, and we were just like inseparable over the summer. But I happened to be over there, and he pulled out the first edition Marvel Superheroes box set. I didn't even know it was a thing. Either that, or maybe it was while I was living in the neighborhood. It's just he came in from Illinois to Seattle, so maybe he brought it with him when he came in from Illinois. I'm not sure, but yeah, just how we used to find those games back in the day, so haphazard. It wasn't until my teens that I would start getting into games because I would go looking for them, and half the time that was from reading issues of Dragon, where I would see all the ads. So we have 89, which gives us a category of mystic and mental skills. Oh, interesting. What would be interesting about this? What if? So let's see what our mystic or mental skill is. Go ahead. So we got a 89 and a 2. We have a trance. Oh, that's interesting. So that's not necessarily anything that would give us an origin, but we are skilled at going into a trance. And really, if you're wondering what that means, in game terms, I believe trance was a way for you to it's been a while. Like kind of do a bit of mental healing and stuff like that. So we got engineering, we got trance, and then we need another category for our third starting talent. Go ahead and give me another percentile roll and a D10 roll. Because it occurs to me that if we had more mystic power, like some mystic talents, along with our engineering and our kind of oddball superpowers here, where we had like the mental force field thing, which we decided might be an actual tech force field, it could be that we are a high-tech hero who has a mystical item that gives us water control, but now with that trance, we were meditating, and somehow we drifted into through time and space, and were spoken to by a great mind from the past who taught us, or maybe we found an Atlantean artifact that we have figured out who to. I mean, that's the cool thing, is you can always put it together and come up with a pretty tight story. So we have a fighting skill, and that's going to be 10, which means we have acrobatics. So I'm spacing these out more than you would want to, but I'm really doing that just for the sake of the stream. So we see with this. We can see this. No, so talents don't have ability scores. They don't have ranks, because they are actually modifiers themselves. So having a talent in something generally, I believe, gives you a certain base column shift when trying something, as opposed to trying something without it. Mystic Agent who has an umbrella. Hey, maybe that umbrella is just the cover. Maybe, he's got some sort of ancient Ankh shaped symbol, or a shepherd's crook, or even just a rod or a staff from ancient Atlantis or something like that he has built into an umbrella using his engineering skill, to conceal it as an umbrella, but he's actually uses it for his weather stuff. He's Mary Poppins, yo! But with his air control and his rain powers and stuff, he creates storms and comes riding in like some sort of agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mary Poppins, and then saves the day, right? And then we have one contact. Now remember, as a high-tech hero, that contact, if we go back to our bullet points, for high-tech hero, high-tech heroes must have at least one contact, and they must declare what that contact is before starting play. The contact represents the organization that the player character works for, or if resources are high enough, owns. We had already talked about this. With good resources, you very likely do not own the organization that your high-tech abilities come from, unless you are a Radio Shack man or Captain Tandy, in which case you might, but more than likely we're on the payroll of another organization, or wealthy benefactor. Perhaps Dr. Orpheus is our benefactor, or Doctor Strange or some other guy. But yeah, so we do need to decide who that contact is. Now there is a table, so we could go ahead and roll to see what our contact is. Or we could just decide. Let's see. Well, actually, maybe there isn't a table. I thought there was a table for contact. I stand corrected. Because there's talents, but no contact table. All right, well, that's good. So for the contact, we go ahead and go through the bullet points here, and we look at generating contacts. Each hero gets a number of initial contacts. Let's see. Certain individuals get specific contacts at a start. High technology heroes. Hero may have fewer chosen contacts than slots. That allows you to leave some openings. Character with a secret identity may assign his contacts either to his secret ID or his public one. Types of contacts are professional, journalism, religion. These are just examples. Tell me who's our contact? Because if our contact is, if we're a free agent and I guess, are we going mystical or are we going high tech? Because our powers, our contacts and our abilities really lean both ways. Could be that the trance is just we're one of those Steve Jobsy kind of guys who's like really physically fit and believes in meditation and yoga, but to get the creative juices going. But it's really still all about science and everything. So we definitely go that route, or you could lean into the trance bit and have a mystical origin to our high tech stuff. But yeah, I mean, do we want to be a agent of an organization, Shield or otherwise? It doesn't have to be Shield. I mean, for all we know, we could be an AIM agent and just not know it. Let's see. Contact be like a born type. Okay. Well, we could always just we could tie into the Marvel universe and we could just make our contact somebody. We could just name drop. Maybe our contact is Nick Fury or one of the other high level Shield agents. If we were going mystic, contact being a ghost could be really fun. Remember, I was talking about like if we were to run with that whole Atlantean artifact riff, maybe a spirit of an ancient Atlantean sorcerer speaks to us. At this point we're kind of going Shazam, but I mean, it is a comic book character, so our contact could be a ghost. It has, I mean, nothing says your contact that your contact has to be a person. I mean, I've seen characters created, and I'm pretty sure even written up from the official stuff, who have contacts that are extra dimensional beings, AI computers, so what say ye, folks? Squirrel, Bishop, Cody, if you're here, we want to go with like a spy organization, or do we want to have a mystical bent to this character with his clearly weather control without saying weather control powers? Honestly, if I rolled this character myself, I would likely ask the GM if I could just sub out all three powers and just put weather control in there. Because weather control is a pretty broad spectrum ability that does all of those. And if we even look on the weather control ability, it has sub powers. If you look, weather control gives density manipulation, other body transformation, others, and animal transformation, others. Because I don't know. I think this is actually things you can sub out. But weather control, air and water control is basically weather control. So, yeah, well, he could be a high-tech hippie. I mean, having grown up in the 70s and early 80s, a lot of the early computer guys and tech guys were former university hippie types too. So, I mean, Steve Jobs, if you look at him, is even kind of like, love him or hate him, sort of a hippie dude with his turtleneck and his high, lofty ideas and stuff, So, yeah, I mean, we could definitely go with the mystic. So, but we still have to figure out who is our contact. Is our contact a person or is he a ghost? I mean, for all we know, our contact is Guru Body Pasta, and he's out there giving us spiritual advice that led us to a breakthrough. I don't know. I mean, if we're going mystic, I mean, for all we know, our contact is some creepy familiar from ancient Atlantis who has been whispering to us from the dark corner of our attic bedroom, or maybe I've been reading too much Lovecraft. All right, final answers. Who's our contact? I'm not going to make it up. This is an interactive process. You guys have to make it up. I'm here to show you what the process is like, not do it for you. I don't mean that in a confrontational way. I'm just egging you on. But yeah, after we've done this, I think next week would be fun to go through this whole process again, but using the Ultimate Powers book, just to see how crazy it gets, and then we'll try a modeled character, not a modeled character, but a point by character, using the alternate rules that were from an issue of Ares, I think it was, or Marvel File. I can't remember. I basically have a collection of old Marvel File articles that I have that from. I cut and pasted it into its own doc. An ancient reincarnated as a scroll. I love it. All right, you get to name him Squirrel. What is the squirrel? What is the reincarnated spirit that lives in Central Park as a squirrel that we commune with and get our crazy ideas from? He is the squirrel hermit. What's funny is you laugh, but I mean, I could easily see this with like an alien character where it's an alien in squirrel form living in Central Park. Either his natural alien form resembles a squirrel, or he's transformed into a squirrel to go incognito. But in this case, I really love the ancient reincarnated as a squirrel, going from all right. What we call him Nuki, because we're human and we don't want to have to say that mouthful every time. This is going to require some description. I'm going to go ahead and put him down as an occult lore contact. All right, so honestly, that is our character done. I'm going to close out the rule book here so we can make the other part bigger, and bring it front and center here. So we have a human who is a all-around good fighter, good physical, good mental character. He has remarkable force field generation. He's got good air control and amazing water control. He's got engineering skills and acrobatic skills, as well as a trance skill, and a contact who is an ancient spirit reincarnated as a squirrel who lives in Central Park as an occult contact. So the rest of this would fall under the filling in the blanks aspect of the rules. And so what we need now is our hero's name. So knowing what we know about our character, what do we want to call him? Hey, Grumpy. Good morning, sir. Late to the stream. Hey, that's normal for you. If you are here at all, you're on time. It's only when you miss it that you're late. All right, so let's throw out some names for our water and air controlling force field having mystic agent, which is really, I guess, what we're really leaning into. So are we we're a high-tech character, high-tech being in giant air quotes. But at this point, really, are we? Like I said, we're a high-tech agent, and but with the mystic bent, again, even by the description of the book, a high-tech agent can be mystical in origin because you could have magic items. So are we looking at maybe we have an artifact here that came that we figured out through this contact in the park, and so we now have these powers. But what is our hero ID? When the newspaper flashes flashes across the headlines, what are they throwing up for us? I mean, what are we calling ourselves? Do we just have one of those weird mystic Marvel names like the Zongor of Atlantia or something like that, or are we, Agent Nimbus? What are we? Anybody? Well, at this point, I'm looking at the time. I actually probably going to end up having to wrap up the stream anyways. I hope this demonstrates clearly enough how easy characters are to generate for Marvel superheroes if you're just going out of the book. It's even easier once you get used to it and you start modeling your characters, because then you're really just going with what your concept is and then going through the various charts and tables that are in the judge's book to figure out what your strength means, what your agility means, what your training means. If you're going to give your guy body armor and you want to have him be as strong, as tough as, look at the resistance table and you'll see like steel is this tough, adamantium is this tough, osmium steel is this tough, stone is this tough, and you could just rank yourself. It's so easy to start modeling characters once you get to that point. Again, we're at that part of the character where you would just polish it. One of the things I've done a lot in systems where we randomly generate characters is if you were, for example, to roll a character who had a bunch of powers and they were all over the place, what I usually allowed my players to do is to sacrifice a power off their total list for a full rank, +1 rank to one of their other powers. So, for example, if we were looking at this and we're like, water control and air control and force field generation, I don't really want the air control. I want to be like a water guy. And then I would say, okay, cool, go ahead and drop your air control and then just add a rank to one of those two powers. So you could boost your water control, or drop your air control. You can boost your water control up to monstrous, or your force field generation up to incredible. It's a great way to refine a character, but not punish the player for having to drop those powers. That has worked really well, because in some of the character generations, especially using the Ultimate Powers book, we've just had some really crazy characters come up that are all over the place in their abilities. And I don't want to, and it's not fair to have a player have to, kind of ditch a power just because. So giving them some sort of incentive to do so that helps refine that character is a good payoff. So that's a good way to adapt to the randomness, because it can be fun. We all know from like old school D&D and stuff like that, it can be really fun to roll a character randomly and just work with what you got. But with the way that Marvel Superheroes works, it can be a little nuts sometimes, and having a way to refine it but still have it pay off, I feel still rewards a player. It doubly rewards them for refining their character and having a stronger concept. It is going to make them like their character more and want to play them. If you get too crazy of a character when you're rolling it, you are not going to want to play it. In addition, there are some stupid ass results that can come up. One of the first characters that I ever saw generated when we went back in the day we played, my buddy rolls the character. He's got one starting power, and his only power is that his powers can't be taken away. And while that's fun and funny, haha, it doesn't make for a very good playable character. So having a character who's naturally resistant to having powers taken away is great, but what does it do for you in gameplay? All right, so folks, I really appreciate you coming out and joining me for this character generation. I am going to have to bounce here real quick because I have to get to my Sunday D&D game here in a moment, half an hour actually, and let's hopefully we won't die. But again, check out GM Cody's channel, really good old school channel. A lot of cool thoughts, reviews on some games that don't necessarily get a lot of coverage. I was surprised, for example, to see Barbarians of Lemuria on there. If you've never checked out that fantasy RPG, it's good. It's a nice sword and sorcery game. RW Bishop, Grumpy Old Slan, Squirrel Hermit, and John Yuld Geek, thank you for coming in. If you were somebody else who was here and didn't speak up, thank you for coming by anyways. Again, to you folks who are dads, happy Thanksgiving. Wow. Happy Father's Day. And if your dad's still around and you like him, don't forget to give him a call. Have a good one, folks. Get out in game.